Welcome to Central News. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, Maryvale Primary School is welcoming the government's $9.5 million injection into the Kickstart Breakfast program. Principal Jan Teneti says the Red Cross used to fund a breakfast program for the school, but with the Christchurch earthquake, that funding was cut. She says the school has been feeding some children from their own budget, so the government's funding will make a huge difference.
I think it puts them in a better place for learning 5 days a week. It ensures that they are feeling full, that they're not having to think about their hunger, pains, anything like that, that they can concentrate fully on their learning, which has got to be a good thing.
A $3.5 million project to stabilise a rock face, which closed a section of State Highway 30 between Rotorua and Whakatane last year, is expected to get underway next month. State Highway 30 was closed after a series of large rock fell from the rock face and blocked the road. The cliff face will have a steel mesh placed over it, which will secure the area and prevent further rock falls for over the 400-metre site at Ruator Bay, says the NZTA. Acting State Highways Manager Andrew Scott says the work involves drilling and bolting the rock columns together and then covering the 400-metre long face with a steel wire mesh. People must not turn a blind eye if they suspect an older person is being abused or neglected, says Age Concern New Zealand, ahead of World Elder Abuse Day this Saturday. Age Concern spokesperson Louise Collins says it is vital people speak out, and a phone call to their Age Concern is the right step. She says don't let fear of meddling in someone else's business stop you from voicing your concern. It is time to stop elder abuse in our communities, and if we all pull together, we can achieve this. Each year, Age Concern's Elder Abuse and Neglect Prevention receives more than 1,600 referrals. Elder abuse, neglect and prevention teams work closely with elderly people and their families to resolve issues of abuse and ensure it does not reoccur. It's time for Bay of Plenty residents to put their thinking caps on and submit innovative ideas to the Young Innovator Awards, which for the first time includes a new category, Young Professionals for people under 40. In its fifth year, the Young Innovator Awards are held annually to find the area's most creative secondary school age thinkers. Supported by the collective of Locus Research, Priority One and Woods Creative, the awards have already highlighted some great ideas from the youth of Bay of Plenty. Timothy Allen, Managing Director of Locus Research, says they are encouraging entrants to develop something that excites them. AJ Hackett was a thrill seeker before he commercialised the bungee experience, and Steve Jobs was a computer enthusiast before developing Apple. Now for our region's weather, Wednesday for you, Hamilton is looking fine with a light wind. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 4. Tauranga, your Wednesday will be fine with a light southwesterly breeze. Your expected high is 18 and an overnight low of 8. Just ahead, opera in Oregon. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. 2 singing siblings have been selected to sing at the Astoria Music Festival in Oregon. I met up with Jarvis to find out what he and his sister are in for. Tell us about your recent selection into the Astoria Music Festival.
Well, it was all rather sudden, really. We got the email in the last week of March, and we got emailed through to us, and it just said, well, you might be interested in this, and we sort of thought, well, we looked at the website and both of us sort of like, yeah. And we sort of thought, well, if you don't apply for these things, you don't get in, right? So we applied for it, and yeah, so I think we didn't actually find out until April 20th that that we got in. So it's all been rather sudden, but I think so far I'm just so excited, and you know, we're leaving on June 10th, which is quite close by now, so it's be very, very, very exciting.
What was the audition process?
The audition process, it was you had to upload a video online, well, 2 videos actually, and you also had to put up your CV, references, and also a headshot, but like publicity still, I should say actually. So it was it felt really, really, well, kind of detached from what you were doing, because as a singer, you're used to performing. When people ask you to come in and do audition for something, they usually ask you to do it in person. So it felt really, really strange doing an audition video. But it was good. It was good. It was, again, quite getting it all together in such short notice was quite scary, but it was good.
So you're heading over on the 10th of June. How long will you guys be there for?
We will be there until we're coming back on the 5th of July. We get back to New Zealand, so I think we'll only be there for about 3.5, 4 weeks. So it'll be.
What pieces will you be performing in Oregon?
In Oregon, it's because the way it's laid out is that as the vocal apprentices in the music festival, which both my sister and myself are, you get to perform in 2 operas. One is Dido and Aeneas by Purcell, and the other is Gianni Schicchi by Puccini. In Gianni Schicchi, both my sister and I have been cast in Gianni Schicchi, and I'm playing the part of Beto, who's kind of like the quirky, drunk uncle. And my sister is playing La Cesca, who is another family member. So we'll be on stage for the entire opera. And on top of that, I'm also singing Aeneas, which is one of the title roles in Dido and Aeneas, straight after, which will be very exciting. So I'll be very, 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 very scared before I walk on stage, I suspect.
Because you mentioned you are going over with your sister. Are there any sibling rivalries there?
Yeah, yes and no. It's we don't sing the same voice parts, so there's no real rivalry between the two of us. Although that being said, neither of us, we both kind of we have the occasional playful quip at each other, but neither of us are really willing to admit that the other one's better.
And tell us about your studies here at the University of Waikato.
I'm currently doing a postgraduate diploma in professional performance practice. That's the official name of the degree. Quite long. It's a purely practical course, so it's customized to the actual performer. So so it's all practical for me this year, which is fantastic. So all I have to do more or less is just perform, and it's amazing. And it's basically all my assessments are made up by my lecturer, which is Dame Malvina. So she is, so we're putting it all together, and hopefully I'll be able to work this into my degree in some way, get this trip involved into it. But if not, then it'll just be a wonderful learning experience. Yeah.
Is there a big opera fan base in New Zealand?
There is quite a surprisingly large fan base. You've got New Zealand Opera, and they're actually very good. And there's quite a few people who go up there, and New Zealand's actually, it's a very strong country for singers. I mean, you've got Dame Malvina Major, you've got Dame Kiri Te Kanawa, who've both come from New Zealand, and they've both been overseas and done really well. Not to mention there's been numerous other opera singers who've gone over to Europe and done incredibly well, actually. And so, I mean, there's always, and then you've also got the music lovers and such. Waikato doesn't have there's a few opera companies in the Waikato, but they're not as prolific yet. So I think it'll be very, very interesting to see how it all pans out in the next couple of decades, really. What
are you looking most forward to about the trip?
Well, actually performing in the music festival will be amazing, getting to work with everyone there. There's a lot of teachers from overseas schools attending and teaching at this festival. So I think there's about 4 teachers who are also soloists in 2 other operas while there. So I think what I'm looking forward to mostly is attending master classes and being able to see and getting advice and input from their opinions and such, which I think will be really great.
How do you train the voice for opera?
Lots of scales, lots of practice. Actually, it really depends on your teacher. Each teacher has their own way of warming up the voice, and then basically finding different ways of training it. And each teacher has their own sort of set goals and their specialities of singing. So for me, my main focus is making sure that my technique is good, which is, that's my primary focus for the moment.
And do you have to do any sort of like ritual or look after your voice particularly before a big show? Usually before a show you kind of try and remain as quiet as you can.
Obviously, there's always a risk of not being warmed up, but that's not as big a risk as overusing the voice and then going on stage and having, oh, this isn't going to work. So it's sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking when you kind of just push, I shouldn't say push, when you've overused the voice for the day, which is, that's the main focus, is when you're performing, is that you just have a really chillax day, so that when you go on stage that you're not tired or anything, vocally or physically, or mentally actually, come to think of it.
Coming up next, a new way to report crime. Welcome back. There is a new way to report crime. The Crime Reporting Line, also known as CRL. I talked to Sergeant Graham McGurk about the new phone line. Sergeant Graham McGurk, what is the CRL line?
CRL is an acronym for the Crime Reporting Line. Simple as that.
And why is it so important to implement a new crime reporting line?
Well, it's really to ensure a timely and accurate system that allowed the public to report crime as it happened, and then able to be assessed and action taken. And like such things from talking to the person, was a scene of crime officer required, for fingerprinting. And it also allowed sworn staff to immediately start working on the reported crime instead of actually spending the time being a clerk.
And what difference has it made so far? Have you heard some good stories?
In Matamata, it's made a great deal of difference, and the victims are now receiving a better service. And this is from talking to the victims. This is not me telling them that that has happened. And the victims, they're getting the information to the police, which has been recorded accurately. More importantly, they've been given a file number and what's called a complaint acknowledgement form. Can be either emailed or sent to them, and that allows them to start with insurance and things like that. That is unfortunately part and parcel of it. You've got to get stuff fixed or replaced. So it's that timeliness that's giving the victims the opportunity to have it reported at the time, allowing them to then move on and get things done, and more importantly, I will be aware of it within minutes of it, or if it's overnight in the early hours of the morning, that's one of the first things I'm doing is checking, and we've had this reported on the crime reporting line, so staff are getting tasked to do something immediately rather than waiting, recording.
Because what used to be in its place?
It was the police station would be rung. If it was not important, it would be left till in the morning. A sworn policeman would then go out and speak to the person, record all the information in his notebook, he would hold it, and he could have various other duties that he had to do, record it all, then it would come back to the station, then he would have to either enter it into our computer system, or the watch house officer would, and quite often that would be a whole day's delay in happening. And the police were just being clerks instead of actually trying to get ahead of the crime. And I use the thought that so often I used to feel that we were following behind the offenders, recording the damage that they'd done, instead of actually getting ahead to prevent the offence happening. And the prevention is our core role now that the police are really focusing on.
Because what kind of information do you guys want for the CRL?
The crime reporting line is for crimes that have happened. Importantly, if there's an offender still there, there's a danger to life, to property, it is happening now, and urgent requirement 111 is still the call to make, absolutely 111. The CRL line is not a default for emergencies, but it is a crime reporting line. The incident's happened, may have been recent, may have been historic, but it still happened, and it enables that to be entered and dealt with in a very in a timely manner for the benefit of the victim, and also the benefit to the police. We're instantly knowing about it.
So, how do we get hold of the CRL then?
The Matamata Police Station is an example that is now hooked directly. So when you ring the Matamata Police Station, it goes to an operator who will direct the call. And so what you say to them, look, I wish to report a crime, or my car has been broken into, they will direct you to the CRL line.
Because, I mean, I actually was burgled a couple of months ago and I rang 111. Because, I mean, you just don't know, you know, and I felt bad for clogging up that system, you know.
It's a learning curve. It's something that the public get used to, because quite often they feel, oh, the police station's not open at this time of night, I'll ring 111. This is the beauty of the CRL line. Just ring your local police station number and the rest is taken care of.
So do you have some good success stories that you want to share with us that have happened recently in
Yes, we have. The CRL is reasonably recent to the Waikato. We've had, well, I've got two really good examples. The first one is we had a spate of daylight burglaries in the Matamata township. We received information, had some, and we were executing a search warrant at an address. Just as we went to the search warrant, a call was made to the CRL line where a person had come home and found he'd been burgled with a number of items taken. When we returned to the station with our offenders and some of the staff, we were made aware of this in the system, and we were still able to return to that address, and we actually recovered the property from the burglary that had only been reported as we were executing the warrant. It was a really good result. The other one was we have the racing industry is big here, and a racing stable was burgled or discovered at 3:30 in the morning. They were able to contact the police through the CRL line. This was early on. Still not really trusting it, thought they'd better follow up and come down to the police station at 8:30 in the morning, and we were already acting on the information. We were fully aware of it, we knew what had happened, what was taking place, and we were already working out who we thought possible suspects were and leading our inquiries, which come as really quite a surprise. And they were thrilled with it, because also the file number was there. They were able to be sent a complaint acknowledgement form via email. It was there. They were able to start with their insurance and get all of that done.
Well, thank you very much, Sergeant Graham McGurk, and it definitely sounds like a change for good.
It is a very good system. I truly believe that.
Just ahead, a local athlete. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Tauranga Girls College sprinter Abby Goldie will travel to Ukraine in July to represent New Zealand in the medley relay team for the 2013 IAFF World Youth Championships. We caught up with her to find out about the event she's been training hard for.
You recently qualified for the 2013 IAFF World Youth Championships in Ukraine in July. What time did you finish that led to you qualifying, and how hard did you have to push yourself for that?
Well, I ran 12:03 at Nationals, which were in March this year, and I was just off the qualifying mark for the 100 metres, which was 11:95. But I got selected for the medley relay team, and I had to push myself really hard to get to that time because it was a really big PB, and I was really happy with it.
The championships are about a month away. How will you prepare to plan for the event?
Well, I'll just continue with my training program that I've got at the moment. My coach, Todd Blythe, has got me ready for the competition, and he'll have me peaking at the right time, which is good.
Do you have a ritual before the race?
I don't really have a ritual, like something I do every race, but I do like to focus myself and space like myself so I don't get distracted too much and stuff.
Who else from New Zealand will be going over?
There's 13 other athletes from all over the country going.
How are you funding your trip to the Ukraine?
I received a scholarship from Bay Trust, which has contributed a lot to it, from Sport Bay Panini, and I also got given some money from Tauranga Ramblers, my athletic club, which has helped also, and then my parents have had to pay for the rest of it pretty much.
Do you have any family going with you to the Ukraine?
No, they're not coming over this time, but hopefully if I make something in the future, yeah, I'll be able to go.
You usually rest in winter, but this year you can't. Why is that?
Well, I don't usually rest in the winter. I usually have a pretty intense winter training program, but my training's different at the moment, so I'll change the program when I get back from overseas.
Your goals are to use the 100 metres and 200 metre races as a stepping stone to qualify for the 2016 Olympics. How are you training for them?
Well, I'll probably just continue with what I'm doing at the moment. Maybe step it up a bit more, but I'll trust my coach and he should get me ready for them, hopefully.
Are there any different techniques to running 100 metres compared to 200 metres?
Well, I guess it is a little bit different, like the 200 with the bend, but ultimately they're both sprints, so just as fast as you can, really.
Were you always the one outrunning everyone when you were growing up in the playground?
I played a lot of outdoor sports, and I do remember always being picked on in seaweed because everyone used to try to target me and tag me first.
Who are your inspirations or role models?
I really look up to Alison Felix, who's an American sprinter, and she's a really talented athlete, and she's really humble, and she's done really well, so I look up to her.
There's a lot of sprint talent in the Bay. Do you train with any of them?
Yeah, I train with Molly, Florence, Amy Robinson and my brother Michael, who are all really good sprinters, and I also used to train with Joseph Miller, the fastest man in New Zealand. Yeah, so it's pretty cool having lots of good talent in the Bay.
The Youth Championships are a major step to the path to next year's IAFF World Youth Championships. How do you plan to achieve this?
Well, I'll continue with the training program I've got at the moment, yeah, and my coach is trying to get me ready for those and to reach the qualifying standards next season.
You spend most of your time running. Do you have time for any other hobbies?
Not really. With schoolwork as well, it's hard to find time to do much other stuff, but not really.
Will you have time to catch up on your schoolwork when you get back?
Hopefully I'll be able to do it all while I'm over there. Hopefully, I'm not sure, but yes, hopefully I won't have too much to do when I'm back.
What kind of training do you do for your program?
I train at the gym sometimes, at the track, then like on grass training sessions sometimes too. It ranges all over.
Is there anything that you particularly focus on?
Well, it depends what time of the season it is. Like when it's closer to competition, like at the moment I'll be starting to get into some serious speed work. Yeah.
Tell us about the New Zealand team you're going with.
Well, it's quite a small team. I already know a few of the members because I went overseas in January for the Australian Youth Olympic Festival, and a few of them are in that team as well. And there's really good athletes in the team, all really talented because they had to meet some pretty hard standards to get to go, including Matthew Bloxham, who's a really good shot putter. He's been on the news recently, yeah. And my friend Taryn from Waikato is also going, and people from all over the country, yeah.
That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook. Let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around the regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.